Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This being a show where I talk about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of Wynonna Earp as well as the latest episode of Outcast. Like always, I'm going to talk about something that you want to listen to. You can always look in the description down below. I can leave the time when I start talking about each of the respective shows. So, for example, if you want to hear what I had to say about this week's episode of Wynonna Earp, you can skip to what I had to say about this week's episode of Outcast. But the first thing I'm going to talk about is this week's episode of Wynonna Earp. So a lot of interesting things went down in this episode. First of all, we find out that it was a demon that dragged Waverly away, and it's this demon I don't know if it's just people he's always been eating, because it seems like he probably just ate animals before, but the person before he captured Waverly, he was eating her. And it also seems like and once again, different demons seem to be able to do different things. It seems like his thing is he can steal people's voices. So he stole Waverly's to make Nicole think, oh, everything was okay. And he's a little bit cannibalistic. But that's why I'm kind of wondering, because he talked about animals before, not unless he was referencing any humans that got lost in his forest. But he was talking about the animals going into trees, uprooting, because I guess whatever his situation is, he's been out there a while. It seems like he probably keeps away from the other revenants. The other revenants just kind of forgot about him. So I guess he's able to just kind of do whatever he wanted to. So while Waverly's in that situation, we have Wynonna, who's literally waking up on the edge of a cliff. And because in her state of mind, she's seeing her mom, and her mom's telling her the advice she gave her when she was much younger. Hell, Wynonna has to snap her arm back into place just so she could climb up. She has to leave Peacemaker behind. And this entire time, it's because obviously this is all Wynonna's subconscious kicking in to make her. Part of me was wondering, do you think it could be more than that? Because obviously her mom hears voices or something. And it's I was thinking, well, maybe there's something more to it. Maybe it is a situation of maybe her mom can kind of tap into her without her knowing or something like that. But then it just kind of seems, but that's, the way out there I did. It's more so than anything. It's most likely yeah, it is just her subconscious taking all that she learned. It's in moments of dire stress and stuff like that. Plus she probably had a concussion, so I'm pretty sure if you look, she has a bruise on her head, so she definitely has a concussion, especially from the impact and the fall and stuff like that. So she's just hallucinating from it. So but even things get heated with this hallucination, because it's yeah, you kind of up and left us. It's because it's her mom says all the camping and all this stuff and wisdom she left Wynonna with was to make sure that she got through. I want to make sure that you would be okay, because you're the one that came into this world kicking and screaming, and it's I wanted to make sure that you had what you needed to be okay. It's you are a Gibson after all. And she was I'm an Earp, and she's it's kind of interesting because it I'm wondering, because it makes you wonder, what part of that is that, is that the side of her that's tried so hard to push away the Earp side of her? Because the Earp side of herself has never brought her any good. Maybe the Gibson side. Maybe that's what her consciousness is, her Gibson side trying to fight, maybe that's what her mom always instilled in her. It's you're a Gibson. Don't ever let that Earp stuff kind of keep you down. But even in her mom's, her subconscious beating her down, oh, look at you. Ever since you became the heir, you've kind of become soft and weak. She's let herself get weak because of the fact of the matter, she's relying on so many other people. It's when it's all said and done, all you can do is rely on yourself. Once again, her subconscious saying things that she's kind of thinking, because it's she had her mom abandon her. It's you left me, you left Waverly, we needed you. We missed our mother, we needed you. And because it was up to Wynonna to handle a lot of that stuff, especially now, I don't remember that coming up a lot. Their dad kind of being an asshole, kind of an abusive asshole. I didn't remember that being a thing. Maybe they brought that up in season 1. It's been a little while, but I didn't remember that ever coming up about him being like that. I feel this is our first time. We already know, from season 1 that he was kind of not the most. He was a kind of a corruptible Earp, because he kind of skated around things in his own way. He handled the whole curse situation in his own way. Not the best way, but he handled it his own way, which you kind of go, I wish you didn't handle things the way you did, but nevertheless. But beyond it, I don't remember the whole aspect of him kind of being an asshole, but I don't know. Maybe this is the first season I really pushed that forward. Maybe not. I don't know. I mean, you're also kind of, once again, it's kind of like, you kind of view everything through rose-tinted glasses, especially in their case, because like the last time they were around their dad, they were kids. So you kind of turn a blind eye to a lot of stuff. Like I said, it was stuff that they didn't really kind of realize until they got much older. But nevertheless, that's kind of going on the tangent. So I do love that when Wynonna was able to track Waverly down, it came down to that whole conversation of like, oh, is this some like Little Mermaid shit? And she kind of nailed it immediately with the fact is that Waverly couldn't speak, dodging all the traps, which I felt so bad about that hunter's son, because he had talked about that. And I was like, oh man, because I thought initially, I was like, oh man, is that like Waverly's trying to make noise and stuff? I was like, oh, that demon's got to be messing with you. He's using someone else's voice. It's like, no, oh, that dude, and his throat gets slit up from the wire. I'm like, ugh. Okay, that sucks. Especially because that dude was looking for his son who had gotten lost in the woods and stuff. I was like, oh man, that sucks so much. Because I thought when he popped up for Nicole, I thought like, oh man, this is just going to distract Nicole from finding out about. Because like I know it led to her finding out about the accident and everything. So I was like, okay, never mind. It kind of all worked out. But it was also including the fact is that he was out there in the woods and like, oh, maybe he'll come across way. Oh, never mind, So I do like that she did kind of, even without Peacemaker took the demon down. I mean, she pushed him down the pit. I guess it doesn't kill him, but it does slow him down. I mean, much like what happened to Bobo last season, kind of getting stuck on those spikes, on like some shards, like he was stuck. So same thing for this demon. So I guess at some point she circled back around and just finished him off with Peacemaker, I can only assume. But what was really most interesting is when she brought up Bullshard's name, he got scared and was like, wait, what? I mean, once again, that's something I brought up before. It's like, what is Bullshard's relationship with like the other Revenants? Are Revenants 100% cool with them? Are some of them and not others? I guess it depends on who the Revenant is. Maybe this guy, I mean, maybe that'd be reason to kind of keep him around because he has information. I don't know if that's going to be the case or not, but maybe before they send him back to hell, they'll make the decision to be like, I don't know if that's what they will decide to do or not. We'll just have to wait and see on that front. Like I said, it might just be like they like in between episodes they take care of him, but we'll see because he knows enough to be afraid of Bullshard because it's like, oh, he'll come after me. And like maybe that's part of the reason why he kind of stayed out in the woods and away from everybody else, just because he's trying to do his own thing. He wanted nothing to do with the other Revenants and didn't want to have anything to do with Clootie and his Bullshard and his curse, So I'm so curious what that was about, like because he was even implying like, oh, Bullshard would come for me. So do you think, in some shape or form, could that be what this might also be about? Maybe the curse implants a little bit of himself in every Revenant, so he's coming after each of the Revenant to get some bit of his own power back. Potentially, that could be something, but it's like that guy was kind of worried that Bullshard would come after him, but why? Or whatever he's got planned, would you kind of be roped into it and unwillingly become one of his soldiers or something like that? Maybe that's what I mean. Like that vampire last episode, we still don't know because that dude was like, oh, you'll all serve Bullshard in your own way. There's many ways to serve Bullshard, so we still don't know what that exactly means. So I assumed it was just kind of like a, oh, take your free will away and kind of control you thing, but we never cut back to really find out what that was, what happened to the vampire dude, So while all this was happening, many other things were going down. Obviously, Jeremy is implying that the fact is that Dawes has night terrors, but Dawes is like, no, we don't need to do that. What we need to do is focus on what we're fighting for. And Jeremy's like, I'm fighting for you. And it kind of catches Dawes off guard a little bit. Because at first, like, especially when he has a conversation with Doc, I thought, because basically Doc tells him about when he died, it's like, I went to hell. Because for Doc, it's like, I did so much good in my life. Yeah, I kind of did some bad stuff, but I've been fighting a good fight. And what did it amount to? Nothing. I still ended up in hell. The same place that Wynonna is sending all these terrible demons and terrible people. I'm still getting mixed up in there, like no matter what I've done, And it's kind of, it almost kind of makes it seem fruitless because it's like he's been running away from death for so long because of the immortality he had. And now it's like, now that it's gone, it scares him even more because now he knows that his fate is sealed. And, he's talking to Dawes. It's like, oh, you and me, we're exactly the same. That the fact of the matter is we're both murderers, so there's no way out of the darkness for us. That's our fate. But Dawes goes like, there is a difference between us because I don't need damnation to motivate me to do the right thing. And I didn't catch what he said, but it almost sounded like he was saying, like, it's going to be okay to Doc. And I'm guessing it's because he knew about his condition. But that conversation made me think, oh, Dawes died too, so maybe he went to hell as well. It's kind of what that's implying. That's what I was thinking at first. So I was like, oh, so he's kind of accepted his fate, but he's still kind of doing what he's doing anyway. The fact is he said that exact same thing. Maybe it's because when it was all said and done, maybe he did kind of think maybe because for one, he knew he was dying anyway, but two, he knew that maybe hell was a strong possibility for him too, that what Doc said wasn't 100% off, but he wasn't going to let that stop him from doing what he needed to do, And there's even that conversation between Jeremy and Doc about the whole doll situation. There's side effects from everything, and it's like, oh, like we need to know ahead of time about this because he might devolve and kind of degrade. It's like, why do you keep looking at the negative side of things? And Doc is like, I've seen a lot of shit, I've been through a lot of stuff. Because it's even kind of this bittersweet thing of him, like that Hill thing has him worried the most, because for him it's like Alice is safe wherever she is, and that's the most I can hope for, you know. So this Hill thing is kind of really kind of weighing on his mind. So and I did like him saying, like, tell dolls we need him. And don't ever tell him I said that. But when it was all said and done, tracking down Wynonna and Waverly, him and Nicole tracked him down, got there in time when she killed that demon, and then showed up the fast dude. He's the one that was killing all those people. Because interesting enough, he moves so fast that not everyone died instantaneously, like at the same moment, simultaneously. They actually all died a few seconds apart because because it seems like he's not just like super fast. In a sense, it almost looks like a teleportation ability, like almost like he breaks apart into something. It's kind of a cool effect of what it looked like when he like teleported or whatever. So, but Doll's, I guess because Doll's condition is basically what Black Badge did. It's not necessarily. I guess maybe it's a combination of Rosita's serum plus his condition. Like, it was probably never, like, you know, it's not stable what they did to it. It left his body unstable. And maybe Rosita's serum, like, maybe, you know, when she tried to recreate it, it did more damage than good. Or it could be, you know, he's all, like, since the very, like, either he's always been a ticking time bomb, or ever since he got Rosita's serum and his own condition, like, you know, maybe Black Badge in his past could have done something for him. But I guess the whole thing is, like, his body couldn't take it. Like, this whole dragon side of him put a big strain on his body, and his body just finally gave out. Because I guess that's why he didn't bother taking the serum, because he knew it wasn't going to do anything. All that would do is probably suppress what's already there, and he needed to go full all out when he fought this dude. So we assume he's dead, but he might not be. I mean, I'd assume he's dead because dolls surrounded him in a fiery blaze. Because it's like, okay, he's like, so who should die here? Will it be 1, 2, or 3 that end up dying here? So he made sure to take the dude down with him. But like I said, we didn't see any body. But so he could have easily teleported away. But I guess because Dolls had his hands on him, because Dolls is something, you know, supernatural, like. And that's something Wynonna talks about. It's like, we couldn't lay a hand on that dude. Dolls had to be the one to do it. And he ended up saving us and sacrificing himself in the process. He ends up dying from it. And you have, like, Doc being like, come on, Xavier, get up already. And it's just like, he died. And I'm like, and watching it, I'm like, what the hell is up with killing off main characters in, like, the second episode of the season? Like, the most recent thing I saw do that was, like, spoiler alerts, you know, for the 100. A major character actually dies in the second episode. I know that's still spoilerish, but whatever. Like, it's just kind of interesting to me that this happened. I was like, wow, that legitimately took me by surprise. I wasn't expecting that, especially because I thought, like, oh, this is going to be a big secret that continues on forward. It's like, no. It's even kind of messed up because, I mean, sweet but kind of messed up is the fact that Jeremy didn't tell him about the whole Wynonna and Waverly situation at first, because he knew that dolls would kind of go running in straight ahead. But it's like his condition and stuff like that. It's like, at the very least, you need to warn the others, you know, ahead of time, just in case he ever lost complete control. So for now, it seems like Dolls is dead, especially with everything going down, because her mom in her head is like, he's at peace now, no more struggle by his demons, because Xavier was weighed down heavily by his past. And she brought up something interesting that I don't remember them ever covering again, is the fact is that he had a fear of the forest, just because I guess it made him unpleasant experiences in the forest. I guess it kind of made him feel a little claustrophobic, maybe. Maybe he brought it up in season 1. I remember he brought that up in season 1, but I don't remember if he brought up the context as to why. Like, it has to be something related to his past, you know, stuff that he was connected to in the past or something like that led to it, but I don't know. But that just blew my mind that it came down to that. It's because he knew it was going to come down to this, because he's like, Waverly, when the time comes, Wynonna's going to need you going forward. It's because he knew that there was probably no coming out of this battle alive. I mean, you never know, maybe something will come about this, but I was not expecting one of them to die this quickly. I mean, it's kind of sad because she lost him, got him back, and now she's lost him, and this time for good, you know? and her mom inside her head is kind of, once again, it's kind of like her subconsciousness. I wonder, is that something we'll see kind of pop up? Because I saw like a picture of this on the internet when I was looking for thumbnails for some stuff. And so it was just kind of interesting to me. I wonder, is that going to be like how she really kind of communicates with her mom in this season? It's just through like this hallucination. Will it not officially go away? I mean, like I said, it might be a sign of just like head trauma or something like that, but it might be a consistent thing. I don't know. Her real mom doesn't seem like she's all too keen on talking, which Waverly's kind of pissed about that, because it's like, you've known where mom has been this entire time. It was interesting. She said like, mom made me promise not to tell you. I thought your dad did, but maybe I misheard her like the first time, or maybe it's a combination of the two. It's like, okay, mom's being sent away, don't tell Waverly. It's probably what the dad said, but maybe it's also the mom. Maybe like I said, maybe I misheard. Maybe the mom's the one that signed herself up into that. And then like, there's like, yeah, never tell Waverly about any of this. But it's like, you knew where mom was. You maybe think that mom just ran away and you kept this from me for so many years. The fact of the matter is, it makes me wonder, like, Wynonna's always known where she was. So Wynonna's visited her before now, not even just like the season 2 finale thing, which once again, I still don't get what that is when she goes and visits her mom and it's like, but her mom's locked up. So how did that happen? Was that just kind of like something else entirely because she's like, mama? Was that just, I don't know what that was. I still am misunderstanding that whole situation. Like I said, was that her just out for a little bit and then meeting up with Wynonna again, she decides to put herself back in prison? Is that what that was supposed to represent? Like I said, I probably like completely and utterly missed that, but still. This battle against Bull Char has only just begun and they're already down one part of the team, you know? It's like, it sucks. And I guess like on some level, because like it's been a little while since Wynonna lost someone close to her. The last person she lost close to her was Willa, and now it's happened with someone else she cares about. Like, we saw what happened with the whole like, how very self-destructive Wynonna can get in situations like this, but she might not, you know, have a chance to mourn him or even like have a self-destructive moment, because it's like, Bull Char is here, we need to take him out. But it's like, how do you fight something? Like, they barely got out of this situation alive. If it wasn't for Xavier, like if it wasn't for Dolls, they'd be all dead. So it's like, how do you fight this situation? We still don't know how Nicole ties into all of this, because she talks about being a survivor of the a previous massacre, like what that's all about. It's definitely going to be crazy going forward to see how this all happens. Like, what is Waverly going to do? She was pissed at Wynonna, but it's like, yeah, I can't really be pissed at you at a time like this, because I mean, because it wasn't just someone that Wynonna lost, that was someone they all lost. Like, no matter what their situations are, like, that was someone that they all cared about. That was a friend, like part of this family, you know? So what are they going to do going forward, like in this fight, you know? What secrets does Wynonna and Waverly's mom have? We'll just kind of have to wait to see to get some answers in the next episode. And now moving on to this week's episode of Outcast. Quite a few things we need to discuss about this episode. First of all, it's kind of interesting kind of seeing that opening with the Chief and Kyle kind of trying to find, find one possessed person this so they can find Sydney, in particular someone that's from that basement. It's kind of interesting because you almost see the Chief is almost turning into Anderson a little bit, because Anderson was so desperate in this fight last season, but we see him kind of take on that desperation, because it's like, yeah, soon enough this invasion is going to be very one-sided. There's going to be a lot more of them than it us, because Kyle doesn't want to, it's not like you have this opportunity, but you're not getting that thing out of her. You're not forcing information out of her, because for one, Kyle doesn't want to torture these people, because for one, he still doesn't understand what this is all about. Plus, he doesn't 100% know how this whole thing works, because if it's been too late, if he rips that thing out of her, she's going to end up just like his mom and Charlotte, and he doesn't want to do that. And obviously, as he's recently learned, if it's too late, it can't be removed at all, you know? So, well, I mean, it's not like he recently learned that. Like, he knew that from beforehand too, but still, because you see it later on when the Chief is kind of telling Anderson to, like, no, we need to, all three of us, you, me, and Kyle, need to be on the same page, because obviously the mayor is telling us, like, oh man, take a break, because he's bringing up the whole Sydney situation and the whole Anderson being locked up situation for the arsony, and it's just kind of like, it's like, oh, obviously, let's pass this on to someone else, but like, for the Chief, it's like, pass this on to some younger bloke who can, got a chip on his shoulder, won't handle this the way he did. Like, the fact fact of the matter is the chief is doing everything he can to keep this all under the lid while also, trying to figure this stuff out. Like, I mean, literally the only means of doing anything right now is Kyle and Amber too. But do they know about Amber? Like, I don't know if the chief knows about Amber. Like, that might be something Anderson didn't talk about. So probably they know about Kyle, but I don't think Amber's come up because I think even if they did know, no one wants to kind of drag a child into this, even though she's kind of neck deep in the cinder, all of it. So I've got a few things. I wasn't expecting the Patricia thing to go down the way it did, but Patricia's like, "Oh, you're arrested for arson? I don't understand." And Anderson tells her, it's like, "No, potentially the one that was in there was Aaron." She's like, "No, there's no way that was Aaron. There's no way, that's not possible." The fact of the matter is, like, she's kind of like pissed at it because I guess there's part of her that kind of believes him because it's like, why would he lie about it? But there's another part of her that doesn't want to believe him and think he's lying. And then, no, I believe that Aaron's still alive and he's out there, but I would never forgive you for this. So there's like two sides of like, hey, maybe there's one side of just being like, hey, you potentially could have killed my kid, but he's alive, he's out there. But there's another side of her that kind of believes him, being like, you did kill my child, screw you, I'll never forgive you. Especially because she even said it herself, it's like, I'm literally the only person that stood by you when everyone else in town had cast you aside. So, but we end up learning that the person that was in the fire wasn't Aaron necessarily, because we end up, like, I kind of figured as much, because like, no, that doesn't make any sense, because like the only body that was found was the one that was from like underneath that was already dead. But it's like, no, we saw it last season, like it was definitely Aaron in there, because or at least someone was in there, because we saw them flailing around during the flames. We saw, I don't know if Anderson saw it, but it's like, yeah, it's like, oh, the only body they found was one that was buried underneath there from 30 years ago. But we saw that one getting cut open in the morgue. It had black blood. Same thing as Sydney, which is still something that hasn't been answered. What's up with Sydney's situation? Is it because his possession didn't really... I feel like it has to more so probably do with his host. His host was probably already sick, and he's in a host that's dying, so he's starting to die all over again. So that's probably why he's trying to make this whole... Like, I guess the merge thing will happen when it happens. It's no, like, rushing it. They can't move it along forward. It just kind of happens when it happens, I guess. But like I said, that was never something brought up in season 1 because he was coughing up the black blood before too. So, but the thing is, the reason why I'm kind of interested by the body that was like, it was a lady, and the bodies from like 30 years ago. Immediately my brain, because it was like a ritualistic killing, I'm thinking whoever did it knew exactly what she was, which begs the question, like, I mean, it's never come up, but I'm sure it's possible. Like, if you just kill those things, if you just kill them in the human bodies they're in, they die. I mean, it might be a situation kind of like similar to Supernatural. Like, if they get out of the body in time, they could easily, even if the body dies, like, they could leave, potentially, maybe they can't escape, and maybe that's what that ritual is about, because the blood was still black. So maybe it's like as long, like, if you do that ritual killing, you make it stay stuck inside that body. This kind of brings up some stuff that we need to think about too. It's like Kyle's previous neighbor who quote unquote committed suicide last season. That was never brought up either, like what that really was about. Was that just suicide? I kind of always felt like, especially after rewatching season 1, I kind of felt like Sydney had something to do with that, because the fact is he shows up there too. It's like, why that specific place? So I felt like that was more so a murder in that case. But does Sydney know that body was there? Because then he looks at the black blood and he's like, wait, what's up with that? So even he's kind of lost in some of this too, I would assume. Like, that's a big mystery what that's about. Because did he have something to do with that thing? I mean, or was it someone who lived there before him? Like, that body was there. It's like, that body's 30 years old and it was wrapped up like that. Not unless it's something that Sydney brought with. No, it couldn't have been something Sydney brought with him, because he didn't know about it. So it can only be the dude that was living there last season, like the neighbor of Kyle's. Like, maybe him and his wife had a lot more secrets than we really know. Because it's just kind of like, oh, that was just kind of dealt with and just never circled back around whether like he played any important role in all of this or not. So I don't know. We'll kind of have to wait and see. We do find out in the end that Anderson finds out that he didn't in fact kill Aaron, but we do find out that Aaron was there, but I guess Sydney got there in time to get him out, or Aaron kind of crawled his way out in Sydney. So when we saw Sydney at the end of season 1, that was him leaving, but that was him taking Aaron wherever he was going. So we also didn't see the fire chief's wife with him at all, because remember what he said last episode was the fact is that Sydney, like, his wife left with Sydney to kind of help him, whatever, but we didn't see her at all this episode. So I'm assuming she's off doing whatever she needs to. It seems like Sydney's more preoccupied with making sure that Aaron gets healed up, because that's what he needed the doctor for. I thought the doctor was for himself, but it's like, no, the doctor was for Aaron. And it does turn out that Hoonley is one of the possessed, which I'm kind of happy about, just because that means he's most likely going to be popping up in this season. I was like, yes, that's good to know. But Kyle was very suspicious of him, but he kind of threatens Kyle, basically being like, oh, you should be more careful, like, kind of like if rash actions without thinking essentially will have consequences, is basically what we're trying to say. So part of me was wondering, the fact is when he came to attack Kyle, I was like, oh, is he possessed? Because I was thinking, like, because Kyle never touched him, I was like, oh, maybe Kyle's going to get the wrong impression, kind of start shit, and it's going to be a problem, because it's like, oh, he's not actually possessed. But it turns out, no, he is in fact possessed. It's kind of interesting because he's like, yeah, Kyle's getting more and more bold. He's like, no, Kyle and Amber exactly where I need them to be. He's like, yeah, sure. Yeah, you've still got complete control of them. You know, Sydney seems like to be kind of the head honcho in this situation. What he is in all of this, like why people follow him, why he is the head honcho, does make me wonder, like, even Hoonley, like, he's like, yeah, of course. It almost seems like even he kind of has his doubts about whether he believes in Sydney or not, you know? So we'll kind of have to wait and see what ends up coming about all of that. Because he does warn Kyle that his mom is dying, which now it's like, well, Kyle has instincts that dude's possessed. So it's like, does he believe him? I mean, it seems like that is the case. He's saying that Sarah has like maybe like anywhere between a couple days to a couple months at most, because it seems like, oh, she's giving up. Like I said, is that really the truth, or is more to it? I mean, if they want, why would they do something to Sarah now? I mean, not unless it's to kind of like push Kyle more in the direction that he needs to be, to play the role he needs to play in this whole, once the merger happens, like, you know, all that. Like, we still have no idea what's going on. While he was in jail, Anderson is beside this dude named Jason, who's kind of going through withdrawal. We end up learning what happened to the Reverend Anderson's son. Never found out last season, and it turns out his son got into drugs. Like, initially he was taking pills for a broken arm, but then it kind of spiraled from there. And Anderson didn't interfere like he should have. It's like he didn't really take the steps he needed to, so he's trying to help Jason, but then Jason gets possessed. Now, what's very interesting, and this is kind of circling around, is like, Amber brought up a very interesting thing this episode. She was like, I don't want to stay here anymore. I want to be with you. But also because, like, how do we know that Aunt Megan doesn't get possessed again, or Mommy does? And it's like, that's a good question. That's something we haven't thought about before. Like, it hasn't come back up. Like, once you unpossess someone, are they completely immune from future possession? Or is it just they don't feel the need to come? Like, you know, is there like a complete, like, aura around that person that's been like cured that never makes it so they can be possessed again, you know? I mean, like, it's never come up before. So is there potential for Allison or Megan to get possessed again? That is the big question, you know? Because it was interesting, because the person that came after Anderson and Jason's body, they were like, Kyle's not here. It's like, what is that? Why would you say that? Unless that's one of the previous, like, creatures possessing someone else's body. Like, when Kyle kicks him out, where do they go? Do they go back to their world? But does that mean they could pop back over? Or are they completely incapable of ever coming back over? Like, there's no permanent solution for getting rid. Like, when you remove them from a body, is that you killing them, or is that sending them back to where they were? Is kind of the question. So is that one that was in a different body before in the past that Kyle sent back? Because it's like, for one, when they went into Jason, it wasn't disorganized, it talked. When they get in that body, they get very like overwhelmed by everything. But this one wasn't. It had a purpose. It was going after Anderson specifically. It's like, oh, Kyle's not here. So I think that sets up some very interesting things that might feed into what Amber was talking about, meaning like those things can come back, can and will and do come back. Maybe we just haven't realized it yet, but there might be some that Kyle's faced in the past in season 1 that have come back. Who knows? I mean, especially the one that left his mom and that started choking him out when he was a kid. Like, we still don't know where that one went. Like, for whatever reason, when I remembered it going inside of him, but it's like, no, like, it never went inside of him. It just choked him out. Like back then, I guess, because it couldn't kill him because he's too important. So I guess it just, you know, it just left him. But like, for whatever reason, I thought he was like, I remembered him being possessed by one, but I guess not. My memory was just kind of hazy. This whole situation is kind of sad too for Anderson, because he's believed so hard in everything before. It's like, and he feels so powerless. Like, it's not just him. The sheriff feels the same. The chief feels the same way too, because it's like once again, Kyle is literally the only weapon against this situation. Technically, Amber too, but for him, it's like, God turned his back on me and everything, and I don't know why. And the chief is kind of like, if you want to survive this, if you want to fight this fight, you're going to have to stop keeping score. And like, I mean, for such a long time, he kept scoring out this whole situation where it's just kind of like, this is a battle. You don't have time to be keeping score. Interestingly enough, like when he was there, the chief was like, oh, here, like handing him his Bible as he's kicking him out of the cell. But it's like, he didn't take it because like for him, it's just kind of like, yeah, I'm just going to have to go on as me, because like he's kind of losing a little bit of his faith, because it's like in the end, like, what does it do? Like that, all these years I thought I was doing something with it, but I'm not. And now it seems like the Lord's turned his back on me, even though I followed his words so heavily. It's like, what can I do? You know, so he's going to try and convince Kyle about fighting. Like I said, because Kyle just wants to find a permanent solution, because like handling things the way the chief kind of wants to. For one, it's like, yeah, you could end up with people in like, you know, in a Charlotte or a Sarah situation. But beyond that, it's like to understand all this is maybe by understanding what's going on, what this is all about, he can stop it, you know, at the source, prevent any more from coming over type of thing. So there was kind of this moment where Amber does run away, and I thought it was kind of sweet. She's kind of like, yeah, I want to be with you and mommy. We have to protect her. And so Kyle's like, you know, can we ever be a family again? And he's like, we will. So I'm assuming he's going to drive to Allison to kind of convince her to come back, I'd assume. So, but the question is, will she do it now? Like, because Kyle's probably going to need her help. It's like, we need to be a family. We need to stand together with this whole situation, because it's like, he'll probably end up telling her about Amber too, because like, she's the same as me. And if you don't come back, it can't just be on me. We both have to be there for her, because it's like your family is in such ruin right now. Megan's falling apart because she is remembering what went down. I don't know if they meant to do that or not, but it was almost symbolic, the camera angle and stuff like that, when she was washing her hands vigorously, and she's standing there and sees Amber looking at her, her fingers, the water's dripping off her fingers. It kind of reminds me of when Amber and Holly saw her in season 1 covered in Mark's blood. They were just standing there, it's dripping off of her. Kind of similar. Like, I don't know if that was them kind of doing a similar thing, because you even have like Amber kind of a little scared, kind of like stepping back, you know, so because they're, you know, like I said, and like I think it had never crossed Kyle's mind to think like, oh, maybe these things can repossess people. It just, like I said, it's never come up before. So, and I mean, because for Megan, this hits her hard, because the whole Mark situation is like, he was always there. He kind of looked past everything that she was trying to run away from. And even when she pushed him away, he was always there. She thought she found like kind of her light, but now he's going. And not just as he's going, like, I killed him. But then, like, you know, Kyle's like, no, you didn't. You were possessed by something. It's like the same thing in Allison that was in my mom. And I can't really 100% tell whether Megan really knows, or whether she just thinks Kyle's just making excuses, because he's like, oh, like, it's fixed. That thing's not inside you anymore. But she's like, nothing can fix this, Kyle. So I don't know whether she thinks he's just lying, trying to make her feel better, trying to justify, trying to be like, no. Like, maybe in her mind, it's like, oh, in his delusions, he's trying to say it wasn't me to make me feel better. It's hard to say how she really feels about it, because no matter what the situation is, I mean, she literally had the same reaction Allison, once finding out the truth, left, because it's like, no, like what I did to my daughter and what I could have done to her if you hadn't stopped me, and all this time, like, I've been blaming you and it was me, you know, that whole thing. So I'm curious to see what goes down. Like, oh, we kind of see that just in her despair, Megan jumps in the water just because it's too much to think about. He's gone. So I think she wasn't really thinking about Holly at the time. She was just thinking about her pain. And it was kind of interesting. He's like when she's thinking about Mark, he's touching her stomach and said, like, I forgot exactly what he said. And then Megan kind of pops her eyes open and tries to swim up to the surface. I'm thinking that's implying the fact is that she's pregnant. I think, like, because of the stress of everything, she kind of let it slip her mind that it's not just her life she's taking right now. It's their baby. Like, one of the last, other than Holly, this is like the only other piece she has left of Mark going forward. So she's probably going to try and nurture it. But before, she couldn't swim back to the surface in time. Side note, those rings they were found, I'm pretty sure that's supposed to be like her rings from season 1, right? The one she ended up having to sell, because he talked about getting her ring back, you know. So was it Donnie? Was that his name? I'm forgetting. The douchebag from season 1 who hurt Megan the way he did. That asshole, like, that hasn't circled back around. I mean, I don't think it really would have a reason to, considering the fact that Mark is gone, but you never know, that asshole could still kind of rear his ugly head. But nevertheless, I think that was kind of implying, that, like, oh, she's pregnant. At least that's what that's heavily implying to me. So It's probably just something we never really got access to. But someone grabs her. I can only assume is Anderson, because I kept thinking that the entire time, Anderson, tell me you see her, tell me you see her, like you're going to walk up or something. But it's like, yeah, because he was on his way there to go talk to Kyle anyway, so. And the fact of the matter is Kyle did have to go, because they did set up Mark's situation. Rather than making it look like a suicide, to make things kind of a little even better, they made it look like an accident, like he died in a car accident, which is like, oh, that's rough. And Kyle went to go pick up his possessions and even stared at his body. And I just guess it just made it all that much real. Because, on some level, Kyle's probably blaming himself, because it's like, yeah, this is all happening to the people around me because of this. It's like Mark was a good dude. He didn't deserve that. It's just kind of shitty. And everything he's doing is to make sure, like, you would do anything to protect Megan. And so it's like, I would do whatever it takes to protect Megan too. While, I would do it nonetheless, but I'll do it even more so because of you, because you were family, and I'll do whatever it takes to protect Megan, like I always would have, so. And we do see his body being cremated, so it's just kind of depressing that whole situation turned into what it did, man. That's probably something from season 1 that probably really surprised me. I did not expect the twist of just like that Mark situation playing out the way it did, like when it, happened last season. A lot more mysteries finding their way to us in this season, so I'm very interested to find out what that body is all about, what's going to go down with Aaron. That's definitely going to be interesting, especially when he finds out that it was Anderson that tried to kill him, and he might, side with Sydney even more. Could it be that he ended up getting possessed? Like, once again, part of me wonders, like, why Sydney keeps him around. Is it because of his little, like, original host sickness? Like, not just just his potential, we know what his thing is when it came to kids. Like, I've always wondered, like, especially rewatching season 1, it's like, is that, like, he does seem like he has to fight that urge. So I'm wondering, is that kind of one of the reasons why he's keeping Aaron around, or if there's something else? Did Aaron get possessed in that period of time? Like, what's going on with that? Like I said, we'll just kind of have to wait and see. So many questions that need answering. But really, that's all I want to talk about in this episode. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.